So tell us your name.
This is Donny Lobree.
And Donny, tell us about this idea of the untouchable.
Oh, you mean touching the untouchable?
Touching the untouchable.
Yes. Well, this idea came about as a result of a very deep experience I had some years ago. One of my, or I would say my greatest calling in life is to be a midwife to the dying, where I work with people who are dying. And I was working with hospice one day, and then I got a call to go see a new client, and this client was in the final stages of brain cancer, had gotten it suddenly. Anyway, I was asked to go see him, and he wanted to have Reiki, and I was driving over to his house. And I remember receiving a message, I believe, from Spirit. And the message was, you must touch the disease. And I just thought, you must be kidding. And I thought, I was kind of grossed out by it. I thought, ugh, I don't want to touch the disease. And then as I rode further, got closer to his house, I heard again, you must touch the disease. And I just thought, ugh, I'm not going to touch the disease. That's gross. And I just thought, I just couldn't even think about it. And I heard that again as I got near to the house and was parking. And it was a very strong feeling and a very strong calling that I had to touch the disease. So I went to his house, and there he was sitting. And there was really nothing, you wonder what I was grossed out about, because there was nothing to see. The man was in the last stages of brain cancer. He would die in the next 6 weeks, but he looked absolutely normal. His head was shaved, but that was all, and there was no wound, there was no open wound, there was no nothing. If to look at him, you would never know. So there was nothing physically unpleasant to see. And certainly there was no danger to me or to him in terms of any kind of physical touch. I mean, it was all good. But I was still repelled by the thought of touching the disease. It was something I couldn't get around. And so I said hello to him, and we sat down. And then I began to offer the Reiki, which, as you may know, is hands-on touch. So I began in the shoulders, and you do begin in the different areas of the body offering this touch. And as I got to the head area, I heard again the voice, you must touch the disease. And in that moment, I surrendered. And I put my hand on the back of his head where I imagined the disease to be. And as I did so, he began to cry. He just started to sob and sob as I had my hand on the back of his head, where we both imagined the disease to be. And I began to cry too, as I touched the back of his head. And as I touched the back of his head, I imagined that I would feel something very hard and difficult underneath my hands energetically, but instead I actually felt something very light and airy. It was interesting. I was expecting something dark and hard, energetically speaking, under the hands, but it was very light. And as I felt that underneath my hands, I heard another message, I believe from Spirit, that asked me to give him a message. And it was a message that I normally would not give to anyone in this circumstance. It wasn't an appropriate message by normal circumstance. You'll hear in a minute what I said. And I was thinking, well, I'm not supposed to say that type of thing. That's just not permitted. And I just kept hearing, you must tell him, you must tell him. This is very exceptional. I really, I just thought I shouldn't really say this type of thing to him, even though I'm getting a strong feeling. And so I said, I'm going to do it. And so I told him what I was hearing. So as I had my hand on the back of his head and felt this very light area, and as we both sobbed, said to him, "The Christ will meet you here." And it was a very moving moment for both of us. And as I was working for a non-religious agency, this, as you might appreciate, this was not something I should normally say to people, not knowing, have any idea what their belief system or anything was, but I made a huge exception, and it was exactly what he needed to hear. And so the result of this experience, and we went on to see each other for the next 6 weeks before his final death, but in terms of that experience, what I had done is I had touched the untouchable. I had touched the ugly, I had touched the unmentionable, the unspeakable, and in so doing, offered myself and him healing. We had put a little light into the darkness. And so that's what's inspired me to continue this work of touching the untouchable. And the form it'll take, well, it'll take various forms, but I'll certainly keep you up to date on how I'm inspired. But that's how it all started. That's how I first began to touch the untouchable.